For our next keynote, please welcome Tony Xu, CEO of DoorDash. He will be interviewed by Jon Fortt, co-anchor of TechCheck at CNBC.
Here we are again, same day, a year later. So once again, happy birthday.
Thank
Tony.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a big birthday party.
Yeah. I'm just going to dive right in. What is the most important kind of surprising thing that's happened for you at DoorDash in 2022 that you didn't see coming a year ago?
Yeah. I think it's hard to know if it's a surprise because I think everyone in this room participates in food. So I think it's a category that everyone must participate in. But I think the big question for everyone in this room, certainly when it comes to an e-commerce perspective, was what was going to happen once we got out of this pandemic? And I think we finally got to that point. And what we've seen is even though customers are going back inside stores, they're congregating in conferences like this, they're still ordering at home. And it's because the use cases are really complementary. I mean, we see this certainly in restaurants, but we also saw it in grocery. I mean, there's more than twice the number of customers now that have ordered groceries on DoorDash since I was here a year ago. And as a result of that, I think what you're seeing is even though they're going back inside stores, you're still seeing this repeat activity, incremental activity happen at home.
In e-commerce, we saw this growth rate pick up during the pandemic, and some people expected that the rate was going to continue even as the pandemic cooled. At the more granular level, What have you seen in the rate of growth? Has it normalized to pre-pandemic levels, just the customer usage and new customers on the platform?
Well, I think food is a very special category when it comes to e-commerce in that it is this category that everyone participates in. It's a very resilient category, and I think perhaps unlike some of the other categories when it comes to e-commerce adoption, food has largely stayed at a much higher level than, say, pre-pandemic levels. The ordering rates are fairly consistent, whether that's cohorts that joined right before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and whatever this time period is as we get out of the pandemic.
President says we're out of the pandemic.
Depending on how you want to, again, define this period. But I think you're seeing fairly consistent behavior. Now, obviously, there's some macro headwinds, things like inflationary pressures that everybody in this room face. But on top of that, I think what you're just seeing is it's a category that is very early in its penetration. It's a category that, especially if you're adding new selection, we're very excited to have almost double the number of stores on our platform outside of restaurants. So we have more retail stores, grocery included, than any other platform in North America today. And we're super excited about some of the new announcements with Sprouts coming online, Giant Eagle for the first time, E.G. America with some 1,300 of their brands, Rayleigh's, and many others. And so I think if you can improve your product and you recognize that you're early in the category and you have something as resilient and sticky as food, where people participate in 20 times a week, I think you have the stability and resilience that maybe you don't see in every category.
Got a lot of announcements today, including Sprouts coming onto the platform as partners. This month, though, Walmart, which has been a partner for 4 years, coming off the platform. Why?
Well, it was a partnership really to power their last mile deliveries, through their channel. And I think, it was a mutually kind of agreed upon decision that, they wanted to go a different direction in terms of some of the investments that they wanted to make. I think what DoorDash has always, stood for was, on the one hand, I think we're known as this app that brings you lunch, dinner, increasingly groceries, liquor items, and everything inside the neighborhood. But a big part of what we do, especially in grocery, is actually powering white label deliveries. And I think what most people realize is that when you have the order density that we have with restaurant delivery, which is the highest frequency category, when you have the greatest number of dashers on the platform that we have, drivers, so 3 million plus every quarter, you not only have the highest quality, but also the lowest cost offering. And I think sometimes people get really attracted to that, and maybe they want to go their own direction. But for us, what we see with all of our other grocery partners, whether it's Albertsons or Loblaws or new partners to white label, Weiss Markets, Southeast Eastern grocers, more and more people are actually joining the DoorDash white label fulfillment product.
So do you expect more, or do you have more customers who are kind of making that calculation and trying to make that Walmart-type decision, or no?
No, I mean, again, when it comes to last mile delivery, to make the delivery math work, the most important metric is order density. And that's actually why DoorDash started in restaurants. We started in restaurants 9 years ago. And when it comes to order density, you need really two big inputs. You need frequency of activity, and you need lots of stores. There's about 1 million restaurants in America versus, say, 100,000, these are all rough ballpark numbers, in grocery stores. And so when you can cover the amount of stores that we do in the highest frequency category with the most number of consumers, 25 million shopping with us every single month, at a higher frequency than any other platform, that's the order density that you get that can offer the highest reliability and the lowest cost.
So I want to check in on a couple things that you announced a year ago this week. Mainly alcohol delivery, but you also talked about DoorDash with Albertsons, who
yes.
you mentioned. So are people still drinking? Times are better.
People are still drinking. I guess that's just like food. That's another resilient category.
But how has that tracked over the year as you launched it? But as I imagine consumer taste changed a bit, people are getting out more, where I imagine they're not needing to as much have somebody deliver the alcohol in-house?
Yeah, so I believe a year ago we announced our partnership with Total Wine here on this stage as well. And that's continued to flourish. And not only have we been the fastest growing platform for grocery deliveries, but we're also seeing that growth translate into alcohol as well. That's alcohol from standalone stores that just are principally selling alcohol, as well as grocery stores that are now bringing online their alcohol deliveries. And products like DoorDash, where you can add a delivery after you check out, on, say, a restaurant delivery, and bundle them into the same order and effectively pay one fee for multiple deliveries, that has really driven a lot of the adoption in some of these other categories.
What do partners feel about margins there? Because if I'm a grocery store that sells alcohol, do I have to worry about competing with a liquor store nearby on that deal, or do I sort of automatically get a share of that transaction? Because that's a lot of margin for a lot of your partners.
Yeah, it's all about the incrementality, right? The reason why people partner with DoorDash is 70 to 90% of these sales are incremental. They're sales that they otherwise would not have received, and especially if it's a high margin category, well, then it's really about, what is the inventory that you have? How in stock is it? How, far in selection do you have? What hours of operation do you carry? And these are the things that we're working with grocers and retailers alike to help them bring that onto the platform, including stocking them, in Dash Marts and warehouses, and extending their hours of operation and effectively helping them, grow the number of hours they operate.
I would think in something like that, data becomes so important, because you're potentially, once you're at scale, especially with alcohol delivery, you're going to see consumer taste change, whether, rosé is coming, becoming more popular in the Midwest, or, is Albarino the new, white wine of choice in the South. Are you sharing that data with partners so that they can make in-stock decisions, or is that something that you sort of get your own advantage out of?
No, absolutely. That's data that we do. That's one of the biggest advantages that we bring to the table, when it comes to serving our partners, retailers, grocers, restaurants, is exactly what you're talking about. Some of it is consumer preference. What is it that people want to buy? What's the right price point? What are the kind of supply and demand imbalances and gaps in the market? Which geographies are underpenetrated or overpenetrated? To operational data around in-stock behavior, around which hours of the day might you be understaffed or overstaffed. All of that analytics are things that we share freely, because we think at the end of the day we have to jointly build a product that works for everybody.
So do you become specifically a data partner, almost like a consultant over time, because not every retailer has that kind of sense of exactly what people are buying, time of day, day of week, somewhat by region. They can see it later on, but you've got a more real-time insight.
Absolutely. I mean, it's why we not only have dedicated teams that serve, a lot of these major partners, but we also have dashboards, that communicate a lot of this information, reports, suggestions, in the product, not just to grow our channel, but also their channel. Again, DoorDash is as much a place where you can get everything inside the neighborhood through our app, and our job in the app is to bring incremental customers and sales. But we're also a platform where we give you tools, data, know-how, so you can build your own digital channel.
I'm curious about Double Dash and how it's played out so far. What are people mostly adding and to what, right? Is it piggybacking on that restaurant delivery and getting something like ice cream or orange juice, or is it completely just off the track?
Well, I think you see a couple of different categories of use cases. One is food, what you're talking about, where there's the kids and the parents want to eat different things, right? I see this all the time in my own household, where my wife and I may want to get sushi, but that's not exactly what our kids have in mind for dinner. Sometimes you see a different type of use case where people are kind of planning ahead, actually. In fact, they're actually adding, meals for the next day. Or they're getting cold medicine, as obviously there's naturally colds in addition to the pandemic, whether it's, from the Walgreens or, the CVS's and other stores on the platform. And so it really depends on, those types of use cases. Are they in the moment trying to solve a meal occasion, or are they starting to plan ahead, in which case they tend to order from different categories?
What does that do? Because your basket size, I guess, potentially gets bigger then. At a time when inflation's raging, and I imagine people are spending more to get less stuff. So if you can actually get a bigger share of their wallet, that benefits your platform, that benefits your Dasher force.
Yeah, it does. And I think, in order to combat a lot of the inflationary pressures, which seem to be fairly sticky right now, it's really, one, how do we offer affordable selection, whether it be from Dollar General or BJ's Wholesale Club or Big Lots, which we announced recently, and making sure that we can bring all types of selection, especially where the dollar stretches further. And then second is bring affordable products. Double Dash is one of them, where you can get multiple stores for one delivery fee, but so is DashPass. We have over 10 million subscribers in our membership program. You paid $10 a month for unlimited free delivery. And that's the biggest, subscription program for food there is in the U.S. And then, as a result, it generates, more sales, more profits for everybody.
I'm curious of what you're seeing within your user base and in DashPass versus non-DashPass customers tracks to the broader economic data that we're seeing nationally. I'm just guessing, but I imagine perhaps your DashPass customer tends to be a little higher end, and perhaps a little bit more inflation resistant. So is that the case? And then is there a different case that you make to your partners for saying, well, work with us with the DashPass customers because they're maybe able to be more loyal, buy more consistently, give you better margin than your general consumer?
There's some of the demographic kind of, I guess, bents that you're describing where, on average, the DashPass subscriber is, slightly higher income as a household. But I think you'd be surprised by, the percentage of DashPass subscribers over, say, $60,000 household income versus under. It's about, roughly comparable. But what you really see is the DashPass subscriber is a power user that uses us for multiple occasions, right? Certainly they buy lunch or dinner, but they're planning for the week. They're meal prepping, getting groceries. Once a week, they're also getting that middle of the week run in terms of the berries, the coffee that run out. And they may get other types of products now, especially as we're expanding the platform into other categories, like Dick's Sporting Goods is another partnership that we announced recently. So the DashPass user is really a power user. And the reason why retailers get excited about DashPass is really that frequency, but also the data as they shop in multiple categories. Because a lot of times I think we think about just competing for some fixed pie. But in reality, what's happening here is, people eat 20 to 25 times a week. And if you start adding the other shopping occasions on top of that, it's even more. It's north of 100 occasions a month. So there's just a lot more pie to go around if we can actually, deliver and service it. And that's the kind of information we offer our retail partners.
Dick's Sporting Goods, how's that going to work? Are people like, I could really go for a burrito and a football?
No, it's really, the way these categories kind of naturally work is, obviously they start with probably what they know us for, which is lunch and dinner. But again, because we have the greatest number of users that come back the most number of times, there's just more shots on goal on our platform than any other platform, right?
Okay, I see what you did there.
Whether it's for sporting goods,
yeah.
groceries, and other types of retail items. And that's really the effect that you see.
Is it a frequency thing where, as they open up the app and they've seen, okay, I was coming here for restaurants, but now I see you've got convenience, and oh, now I see you've got soccer balls, and I'm going to actually shift my behavior based on that?
Yeah, that's about right. So if you look at this from the perspective of, say, the DashPass subscriber, you certainly see them adopt first. Somewhere around 14% of our restaurant customers are now shopping outside of the restaurants category. That's a Q2 number of this year that we released, and a lot of what's interesting though is sometimes people are coming in for the first time, just actually buying into a new retail category. And so it's not, certainly I think the natural dynamic is people start in food, and because of the frequency of usage, they start seeing other types of occasions that we can fulfill. But now, given the user base and the scale that we've reached, people are coming in for the first time often in these non-restaurant occasions.
This is a big Fed week, which means it's a big data week for those who are interested in the economy. So I'm hoping to get some insights from you at a more granular level. How has consumer behavior changed over the past couple of years from what you've seen on the platform? Is there a shift, say right now, coming out of the pandemic with inflation high, away from, I'm not saying away from restaurant consumption, but mix-wise? Is it going more toward grocery? Is it going more toward certain staples? Are you seeing more generic brands or trading down to more affordable brands happening?
We're not seeing as much trading effect as you might suspect. Instead, what we're seeing is you see people certainly make the dollar stretch further by buying fewer items per cart. Sometimes they might buy in advance and buy a bigger order, for the week or something, or for multiple meals, perhaps. But that's offset by the fact that each item is more expensive given the inflationary pressures. This is why you kind of see a net neutral, impact right now in terms of just overall, I guess, sales activity. So you're seeing the return of seasonality. I think during the pandemic, there wasn't really this concept of seasonality because we were all kind of stuck at home. But now, as people are going out as if it's 2019, pre-pandemic life, you're seeing, that seasonal effect. But in terms of, this trading behavior, you're largely seeing similar behaviors as what they were doing pre-pandemic.
Are you seeing significant regional differences? The South, the West, the Midwest, et cetera?
You're not. You generally see strength and changes, based on what selection is offered in that region, how many hours of the day is it offered, how in stock are those items, what's the price point, how good is the quality of delivery. Those operational metrics tend to affect regional performances far more than, say, anything macro.
How about within DashMart, where some of what you've done is bring some regional favorites and make them available in areas where they might not have been before? Is that level of consumer curiosity, willingness to try new things at the level where it was before, or does that get affected by the macro environment?
Well, everything is subjected to macro inflationary pressures. So, that DashMart is no exception. But you're right. What's exciting about DashMart, certainly on one hand, it's offering differentiated selection that really isn't in a geography, or it's not operating in the hours of day that customers are interested in. So it's really bringing incremental sales. What's interesting about DashMart is we're now start partnering with people, whether it's Albertsons or Loblaws in Canada, where we're taking DashMarts, turning them into express delivery sites and centers in which we're operating, but selling them through Albertsons channel, or PC Express, which is Loblaw's digital channel. And as a result, what you're seeing is really what I think what this industry should be about in terms of building a sustainable way where you're not competing for the same ad dollars or something. You're instead trying to invent what the product should be for the customer, which is always having what customers want in stock at around the same prices that they would expect, delivered as conveniently as possible, and certainly more so than your own. If you can do that, I think the penetration in the industry will grow. Otherwise, I think it will stagnate.
Quick, to finish here, quick curveball question. Is there a sleeper hit product, like food product, of 2022? Just like, I know sriracha's in short supply, but is there something that's like, whoa, people are eating a lot of sweet potatoes?
I'll have to get back to you on that, but I would have to say, as the previous speaker was talking about, snacks and innovation in snacks, there's innovation going everywhere. I know there's a lot of coverage and stories about the macro environment right now, but I think people are always willing to try something new. 89% of people love the convenience of delivery, so I think folks are always willing to give something a shot for the first time.
Tony, thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.